Getting after it, Reagan. The
I was
worst.
going to say something. I don't want to say something insensitive because I was looking at food stamp data earlier, and I don't want to start down that direction.
It is.
That's how you get yourself
I
canceled.
was looking at that too. I know you texted that around to our group text, and you look at that John Harvick put out. That was pretty good by district. I wonder how hard it is for him to slam that thing together. That's got to be not super easy to do.
It doesn't seem like it. So district. What it is. And
By
we'll
county
link-
would seem easier, but to put it into house districts would seem kind of tough, I think.
Yeah, I don't actually know how he does it, but we appreciate it. So he does this, and it's by house district, like you said. So all 60 districts, and he marks with the blue on the chart if it's Democrat-held district, red if it's Republican. The highest utilizer, and I can't see because it goes past his 25% of the chart. So how many households in your district are receiving food stamps? House District 22 is the leader by far, way above 25, probably headed towards 30% of households in House District 22. And then House District 3, which is at Yunker? Like Grants Pass area?
I think so, yeah.
And it goes all the way down. And then the district that utilizes food stamps the least is District 38, which I think is that Hua? Is that
Not
former
30.
Representative Hua
Younger
Wayne?
is 3. Now 38's got to be like West Portland or something. It's got to be the Rich Hills. I bet.
Oregon House.
Oh, Daniel
District.
Wynn, yeah. Oh,
Okay,
they got
so-
Sligo. That makes sense.
So that's your
Sligo.
that's your scale basically.
Yeah, Lake Oswego.
And they're below 5% of households on SNAP. So Lake Oswego is your basically essentially your most affluent in-house district, right? By house district. If
Yep.
you looked at this by region or by county, it would look a little bit different, but it'd be similar. And then all the way at the other end is your Grants Pass and your kind of rural Woodburn
a lot of southern rural
area.
Southern Oregon.
Yes, and you'll see most of the Republican districts on the right. Most of them are on that right side of the scale where they're higher utilizers, kind of in the 15 to 20 range. Yeah. And so obviously what this means is everybody needs to call Senator Wyden and Senator Merkley and tell them to vote to actually pay for SNAP. That's what this means, right? In the government.
I guess, yeah. I think they're trying to make this Trump's fault, but I don't know.
They are, but having two Democrat senators is great for any of the state level Republicans. They just say, yeah, I'll ask Wyden and Merkley to vote for the CR so we can get this going again.
It's true. The note on House District 22, though, is it always kind of, I think it makes our point that we always talk about, that because House District 22 has the lowest voter registration because of all the populations are equal, but it has a super low voter registration, which tells you that basically there's a lot of illegals. That's what it tells you. And I bet SNAP, there's a bunch of those people that are on SNAP benefits. So, and Owens, I noticed Owens is on there as well, which is, I think he's 60. So that's the far southeast portion of the district, which includes Ontario. Yeah. And in Ontario, because Idaho doesn't have a lot of the benefits that Oregon has as far as free stuff goes.
Shocking.
In Ontario, there are apartments, I bet you, if we dug into this, that have 50 people getting SNAP benefits in one apartment. Because a bunch of illegals and a bunch of people that are poor that live in Idaho share apartments. There's a whole black market over there about sharing apartments in Ontario to get the free stuff from Oregon. Hence why that's why there's a drive-through abortion store in Ontario. Like, it's all about, going after Idaho people, but we have to pay for it in Oregon, which is horrible. Interesting stuff, though. Follow John Horvick if you haven't, at Horvick, Horvick. Free plug for John. He comes on a couple times a year and gives us kind of the updates, but he puts this stuff out all the time, and it's pretty cool it's just fun to see how that stuff plays out. So,
and I think, this is interesting data, but I also don't think, so there are charts that have been going around, at least in the legislature, about what's going to happen with the budget. I think those went public. But they're making, because of the one big beautiful bill, the HR one, they're making big changes. The state is going to pay more on SNAP. There's basically two big buckets of federal money. It's your health care and your food stamp and other food assistance. And those two buckets are getting hit pretty hard. It's a 15% reduction in the one. And based on, I'm doing some fuzzy math because the data, it doesn't all cross right over. But based on the chart that LFO gives you that shows you your biggest buckets of federal money, and then the chart that LFO gave us showing where the biggest cuts are, my best estimate is 15 to 20% in both of these categories,
Ooh,
which is pretty big if they're your two biggest line items.
yeah.
Those hit pretty hard. So, and then basically your choices is do you try to make up the ground where you lost of the people who got rolled off? And in a lot of times in Oregon, we do try to do that or try to go beyond what the feds offer. A lot of other states don't because they don't want to spend the money to do it because these are expensive. I mean, it's expensive stuff. Crook, I was looking at Crook and Jefferson because this is our district. We had some data from there. It's like $1 million a county to run SNAP. So it's for, and those are lower population counties. You get to the big population counties, probably a couple $1 million to run it in Multnomah and Washington and Clackamas and Deschutes and Lane. So it gets expensive fast.
It's yeah, and I don't deny that some people need, you know, food stamps and the SNAP program and to get through that. I think the problem, and I think, President Trump has been kind of on this, is that there's a lot of people gaming the system. And it's not even just illegal aliens, right? I don't want to pick on them. I mean, it's not even that. There's just a lot of people, and I see them. I've seen that line. It literally, Reagan, when they do some free food stuff, they do it kitty corner of my building downtown Primal, downtown Portland. They do a kitty corner, and I see the people lining up to get the free, baskets of food and stuff. They're not seniors that can barely walk. They're not even illegal aliens. These are 40-year-old people that should get a job. And I just find, but they're smoking their ciggies and they're hanging out and they're not spending whatever money they have on food because they know they got free stuff coming. And none of them look like they've missed a meal. Let me tell you that. It's not like they're skin and bones and, it's not the commercials you watched about Africa. That's for damn sure. So these people aren't exactly starving. I just find it kind of mildly annoying. And I think that's what the president is trying to get after this is like, there's just a lot of abuse in our system. So many people taking advantage of free stuff. And I just think we can't afford to pay for it. Like at some point, it's got to stop.
And I also think like if you're just a person and you do the math and you say, okay, I get a job, taxes cost me this much, this is what I have, versus untaxed benefits. Generally, I think they're untaxed. I haven't.
No, it's free stuff. They don't 1099.
So if that's your math, you're doing your math and you say with taxes on a job, on a basic job that I could get versus benefits, right? People are just going to do the math. And
yeah.
I've talked with folks who try to hire and they say that's one of the biggest problems is people who come in and they do the math and they say I can make more on doing, unemployment, getting a job, going back on unemployment. Like people cycle on and off of them. And then you have food stamps on top of that, and some people have access to disability. And so it just gets to be a lot to where some folks who are able to work aren't incentivized to get a job. You just have to change the calculus. You don't have to eliminate the programs. You don't have to make it so that nobody can be helped. You just have to make it so that the people who truly are needy are getting the help, and the people who are, and which is what they're doing. They're reducing the AWABs, the able-bodied working adults, something like that they call them, and there's an acronym for it. But that's basically they're massively reducing how much they're doing on that front. So they're still doing like a lot for the WIC, which is women, children, and infants, right? Which is kind of the way generally it ought to be. So big changes, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays into the budget discussion. But again, I think that since we're a heavily Democrat state, they like to hit Trump for it, but it kind of doesn't matter here because the only people that can vote are the Democrats and then Cliff Benz. And Cliff Benz voted to keep the government open. All the other Democrats voted to keep it closed.
Yeah.
And that's kind of so they don't hit it very hard. That's why Merkley's doing other stuff. That's why Wyden's doing other. They're
Yeah.
not really highlighting this very much because they know they're the ones voting to stop the CR that has all the government funding in it, including this stuff.
It was in Merkley's most boring speech ever. Did he talk about not voting for this because the CR so that they could keep SNAP benefits? I don't think he mentioned that.
I think his was on fascism and the rising fascism.
Oh yeah.
And I think if I were to describe fascism, I would describe it as decades of control by like one single party, and they kind of do whatever they want. And the opposition just continually gets steamrolled, and sometimes they get removed from their seats for being a opponent. Oh, wait a minute, I just got confused. Sorry, I was describing Oregon government for the last 15 years. My mistake. That couldn't possibly there couldn't possibly be any fascist tendencies there whatsoever. No, I just think he doesn't have. There's nothing that's interesting for him, and then he goes and does this long-ish filibuster. But at 22 hours, why wouldn't you do 24 at that point?
But
What's
you're not filibustering anything. Like you're just talking. Like any senator can go down to the floor,
right?
just start talking, right? I mean, granted, if he's talking, then nobody else can talk, right? So I mean, I guess technically it's a filibuster, but but it was funny listening. I think it was Ruthless that talked about it. Was his? Then they showed his staffer that fell asleep. Because I mean, the problem with Merkley, he's just boring. Like a
He's
lot of
not
these.
Cory Booker. He's not exciting.
No.
He doesn't drive. He doesn't bring that kind of passionate vibe. He's not exciting. There's nothing
There's
exciting.
no viral video coming out of that. There's nothing that he said that was blasphemy. It's the same boring shit that they've been saying about Trump since the beginning. He's a fascist. He's a Nazi. All the things. All while the people running for the Democratic Party, they're the ones with the Nazi tattoos. The guy running for governor of Maine has a Nazi tattoo on his chest. And I mean, it's just, it's wild that usually those who scream it the loudest are the ones that are. I find that to be sometimes the case, right? So I don't know.
I can't find the tweet right now, but I saw polling that said when people were read his like he said it's not a he doesn't he says those things are abhorrent. I don't agree with those anymore. He doesn't really say I'm sorry, but he also says I don't believe that stuff anymore. So when people are read his apology, by the way, 46% more likely to vote for him. So like not only is he getting absolutely blasted and people think that it's going to make him unpopular in that district, it's making he's doing better. And sorry, not district. This is U.S. Senate for Maine, so it's the entire state of Maine, and
Yeah.
it's the incumbent governor that's running. But like this tells you where the Democratic Party is right now. They got the incumbent governor, who at least in the original polling was pretty popular. Her favorables look like
She's
plus
horrible
10,
now.
15, but she is on the old. She's like 77 or something like that. And but she's been friends with Susan Collins and previously refused to run against Collins when she was in other elected positions. Now she is willing to run against Collins. So, my take being that if you have your incumbent governor to run against a U.S. senator, that's probably worth doing. However, she's way behind in the primary right now. It's very early, but she's super behind. She's like 20, 30 points down to this Graham Plattner guy. So I don't know what happens if charisma and social media videos is the new popularity, but also you got to remember that online is not the real primary. Real primary voters are old. Real primary voters are results oriented. A lot of them are. You can get some energy and have some sparks and stuff fly off here. So it'll be interesting to see which one of those wins out in that main primary.
Wait, is the thought that she's running for Senate from the governor? Because normally, would you? I guess you'd rather be a governor than a senator. I would think, don't you? What's your?
Yes, most senators. It used to go the other way. It used to be senators running for governor. That was often the pipeline, but there's been a reversal in that trend. A lot of senators are leaving. I mean, Tommy Tuberville's leaving to go run for Senate. Blackburn in Tennessee's running from Senate to go to governor. Like most of the time, the pipeline's going the other direction. My guess is Janet Mills did some polling and they really want to win the main Senate race. I don't know what they can. I mean, they can't. I don't know what she can get. Maybe she isn't enjoying governor. I don't know, but it's
Maybe
mostly
they want to
going the
get
other
on
direction.
the. Maybe they want to get on the what do you call it? The Nancy Pelosi stock tour. Is actually get into DC. Wants to get to DC so she can make some money. I think my friend. So hey Reagan, you like this? So I'm going to call her my friend because I don't really know her all too well, but I did meet her and we sat together for a couple hours in DC. So now she's my friend. Her
Hmm.
name is Reagan. Reagan Paul.
Nice.
She's a state rep in Maine, and we bonded over our love of offshore wind. Because Maine is just she's battling
Yeah.
offshore.
Oh
She
man, I
represents
bet.
the coastline, like the upper coastline up there, and she's just battling this, and nobody in Maine wants it, and it's just being shoved by Democrats down their throat to get it done before because Trump's pretty much put a block on all of that sort of stuff, but they're trying to get it. I think they're trying to make sure it happens. Anyways, I thought you'd like her because her name's Reagan too, and she was named after Ronald Reagan. You guys are literally
Nice.
like the same age, so I thought you
That's
would.
fantastic.
Yeah, I thought she should run for governor. I don't know. I don't think Maine's ready for a Republican governor, but Trump didn't win Maine, but I think he came close, I believe. But I'll have to look that up while we're.
I'll look up while you're talking.
Yeah. Well, I was done talking. I was gonna look it up and let you talk, but
All right.
keep
Well,
talking. I'm just kidding.
speaking of people who made it to the
Oh yeah,
Senate,
yeah. Oh, nice pivot. I thought you were gonna say she's
Christine
running for governor.
Drazan. Well, listen, we got to get things in order here. So we had on Thursday they had the PCP meeting, and Drazan, who I think generally most people I talked to was considered the favorite for this. It did get appointed. Now the weirdest part about this is that like, what was it, Wednesday? I just start getting all kinds of texts. It sounds like you were getting all kinds of texts
Oh yeah,
and
Wednesday.
calls and
Yeah.
stuff. Their rumors on Wednesday started to really light up. Drazan's gonna run for governor, right? And it sounds like there could be. And I got an email. Like, let me. I should look and see when the email came in because I feel like it might have been Friday or Thursday. So yesterday. So yesterday was Thursday, 3:30. Okay, so she's appointed. They had the meeting at 1 o'clock. She's appointed. The very next email that goes out, and Reagan, if you're reading this, you're one of the select few supporters I could trust with this. I need your opinion. Oregon's at a crossroads, blah, blah, blah. That's why I'm asking you. If I ran for governor, would you stand with me? And then you can click on the thing and it's yes or no.
Yeah.
And it's just a win red. And you collect yes, I'm with Christine. No, count me out. And then you put your name, email, cell phone. Okay. Within hours, an hour of being appointed, that email goes out, right? So obviously you draft that before, but they were waiting to push send until they figured out what happened with the thing. But she got asked about it in the meeting. And here's the part, and I did think that this was going to be somewhat like that's a question that should come up, right? How long are you planning to do the job? Because there's multiple schools of thought. You can appoint somebody and hope that they run again and win. You can appoint somebody that's just a placeholder. You can appoint somebody that you hope's going to lose. There's all kinds of strategy here.
Sure.
And this was a Democrat led meeting because you had a little bit of Multnomah, all Democrats, Hood River, all Democrats. Wasco seems like it's a little split. I haven't looked. They might be nonpartisan.
Majority Republican.
Okay, so majority Republican, and Clackamas, which is majority Dem, but it has two R's
Yeah.
on it. 3 R's, 2 R's. I think it's
Two R's, two
it's fine.
D's, and an NAV. Yeah.
That's right. So it's a generally Democrat controlled or Democrat leaning process. But it sounds like Clackamas and a couple of others basically came through for Drayson. Now it could be, and here was my theory the other day. I was thinking about it. If you wanted somebody who was going to be there long term, Helfrich has said he's going to run, and he was kind of in regardless. It sounds like, and he reiterated that at the thing. He's going to run even though he didn't get appointed. But if you appoint Helfrich, then the Republicans do get to pick a replacement for his seat, and that's a seat Democrats want to pick up in the next election. Will put effort into picking up. Will spend money on. I think so. They probably didn't want to appoint Helfrich because they don't want another Republican in his seat. They don't want somebody who's really qualified to get appointed. They would want that person to have to go through the idea of like, I got to run. It's going to be a hard race, all that stuff. So they were probably going Drazan anyway. But then I read this quote and I was a little bit surprised. So they asked, because you can't ask individual, but they asked to the panel, are you planning to stick around? How are you planning to do the job? Do you have time to do the job? And Drazan kind of referring to knowing that it was talking about her, that she says, quote, that is just a reflection of the fact that I'm always determined to do more than everyone else sometimes is willing to do to serve the greater good for the state of Oregon. And I was like, okay. I'm interested in what her colleagues think about that. If they got read that quote, respond to this. That's an interesting quote.
Yeah.
Listen, there are some people who do nothing. So maybe technically true, but I think a lot of people are putting effort in. It's just that not everybody's running for governor.
Yeah.
That
Definitely agree. There's a lot of people that do nothing. That would be hard to argue that quote, Reagan.
correct.
I think it's hard to argue the quote that she always does more. That's a little bit of a slam at your colleagues. The
Which
other
is
thing
probably why she threw the word sometimes in there. She
yeah,
realized where she was going and she's like,
softened
pull
it
it
a
back.
little. Yeah. I Clackamas own the vote. The crazy part about that whole vote is all of the other commissioners voted for Jeff Helfrich,
That's
except for
interesting.
Clackamas County.
Yeah.
So he won. He got 11 commissioners to vote for him over Drazan, and Clackamas swung it all to her. And I think it's because of her relationship with Schrader that she got the Democrats. So, hey,
That was highlighted. Schrader highlighted that publicly, which I think is
totally, yeah.
fascinating.
I mean, good for her. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do, right? I mean, she knew what vote she had to win, and she won it. So
Right.
I don't discount that. I do discount the fact that if you're going to go run for governor and you can't get any of the other commissioners to vote for you, that's a little odd. Or did she just not try and Jeff did? I don't know the backstory. So um, I would think she probably figured she had the five Clackamas County commissioners and they controlled the vote because of the population. So she probably just
Right.
didn't bother, to be honest. I'm sure she didn't call the Multnomah County commissioners. I probably wouldn't call them either. Unless she lost one of the Clackamas County ones, then she would have to like, oh, I need to go call a couple other ones. But regardless of all that, so take all of the rumors, right, that we hear she's announcing on Monday. She's getting sworn in. I got a note that she's getting sworn in tomorrow, Saturday. On Saturday, she's getting sworn in by
So she
Tobias
can
Reed. By Tobias Reed at the Clackamas County Courthouse.
so she can
She's hurrying up and swearing. It's like getting married before you're running off to the army. You know, you're
a shotgun swearing it.
yeah, like it's just this let's just hurry up and get it done kind of thing. I mean, I don't know. I thought that was
It's
kind of
obviously not
interesting.
about the pomp and circumstance, because what the other thing she could do is she could wait until November Ledge Days.
Totally.
If you want the pomp and circumstance. But yes, she obviously does want to be sworn in and then announce.
So to me, the fact that she's getting sworn in on Saturday at the Clackamas County Courthouse by Tobias Reed, because there's only, what is it? Is it three people that can swear? The governor, Secretary of State, and like Supreme Court, right? I think can swear.
Yeah, I think you can poll almost any judge, but I would have to double check that. But
I feel like
Tobias,
it's a judge from the Supreme Court.
maybe it is. I have not checked that in a long time. I haven't had to arrange a
I
swearing
think you
in.
can also
Thank
get
goodness.
former Secretary of States too, I believe.
Ooh,
I think they can because no, it has to be the sitting. Because Vicky was sworn in by
Klarna,
Klarna.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
cool.
she was Secretary of State. So
Yes, she was.
so to me, all of the rumors, the fact that you're doing a shotgun swearing in on Saturday,
That's the title of the episode, by the way. Now,
so you are the state senator by Monday
yeah.
makes all of the rumors true. Like there's just
Okay, and then Brian, what's the hurry for her to announce on Monday? Why would that be necessary?
well, there's a Reagan dinner. Speaking of Reagans today, on November 1st, where Chris Dudley and Chell Sonnen are both speaking, but not Christine Drazan.
Now we've already talked about
And we
Sonnen.
hear that there's an announcement coming.
Yes. And the question really is, so and every time I got to hand it to Dan Mason, because every time he figures out an interesting angle to make this dinner not just a random, fancy and he's got Mark Wayne Mullen, who is a U.S. Senator. That's super cool. Because there's only 53 of those that are Republicans, right? You're not going to invite a Democrat to come. Yeah. Actually, they should get Fetterman. But anyway, back to this. He's got Mark Wayne Mullen, who I think is cool, who I think is a good speaker. And normally that would just be it. Like, event done. We've got our speaker, right? He's like, no, I'm just going to invite 2 people who are rumored to run for governor. And basically, are both of them going to announce at the Reagan dinner? Because frankly, that would be hilarious. But even if only one of them does, whether it's Dudley or Sonnen, that is interesting. And I think that the fact that he's set the speaker lineup the way he has is adding to the interest level, which I think will get more people there. So again, super smart of him to set up the event that way. And he's done a really good job finding good angles for it. And so this will be an interesting one.
Now more people are interested to hear what Chael and Dudley have to say versus Mark Wayne Mullen. I mean, he's going to be boring talk about the walkout, right? Or not the walkout, but the shutdown, and everybody's going to be like, meh, kind of old news. Dudley, what's going on? Are you running? Is Chael running?
I did ask my dad if he gave Chuck Schumer the walkout playbook, because I keep hearing their talking points and their strategy. I'm like, man, this seems familiar from somewhere. We've talked about it before, but yes. Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. And I think, like, I don't know if they're in order of how they're going to speak. If it's Mullen, Dudley, and then Sonnen, that's the way they're labeled on the invite. I have no idea. But super fascinating stuff now to kind of see this race now developing.
I'll be there at the Reagan dinner. It's going to be fun. Be the guest of a lobbyist, so Vicky and I are going. I think we're sitting with Bob and Bobby, Representative Bobby Levy, and Bob Levy is one of my good friends. So it'll be kind of fun. Now before I was kind of like, meh, but now I'm kind of like, oh, this could be interesting because to be honest, I mean, Chael Sonnen's a wild card. I mean, he's not afraid, to say what is on his mind, regardless of filters. I mean, I always think I don't have a filter until you hear him talk. And then you realize, no, I actually have a pretty good filter. I remind my wife that my filter is actually not too bad.
And here's a couple things. You don't know what kind of campaign he's going to run. You don't know what issues he's going to talk about. You also don't know how much money he can raise. He can, I think it's just a very wide capacity. There's certain people we know. We know what kind of Drazan's going to run a disciplined, like, tight race. She generally does. She generally stays on message. She's going to raise some money. We all know that she has the capacity for that, right? Dudley, we have seen him run one time. I think also the interesting thing about this, and the challenge is going to be, and we were talking about this before we started, but Kotek's favorables, she used to be the 50th most popular governor in the Morning Consult quarterly governor survey. She's not anymore. She's in the 48th to 45th range now. Yeah. I mean, truly and this is basically the story of Oregon. It's like, oh, dang, we're ranked 50th in a thing. That's pretty bad. We at least like Mississippi below us, right? That's kind of the general thing. And so we put in a bunch of effort to come up with an incredibly complicated marquee bill and spend a bunch of money to make sure we're 48th to 45th. That's like the Oregon way now. We don't pioneer anything anymore. Our goal is not 50th. Okay. So the thing, though, that's a challenge right now is Trump's deployment or attempted deployment of National Guard is putting a spotlight on Oregon in a way that it is needed, and that combat point is needed, and he needs to make sure that he's defending the federal.
America was built on the idea that anything is possible with hard work and a dream. But it doesn't seem to feel like that today in Oregon. Democrats' out-of-touch far-left agenda has only made things worse. Paying union workers to strike against us, stealing private property rights away, driving companies out of Oregon, and sending your taxes higher so you can't afford to live here. From gas tax, open-air drug markets, and homelessness, Democrats have failed. Democrats passed an additional gas tax on you. Every day, Oregonians will now pay over $4 billion more to failed Democrat agendas. It's time to push back, stand up, and say enough. Senate Republican leader Bruce Starr is leading the charge to refer this horrible gas tax to you, the voters. Republicans think you should have a vote. Write this website down, notaxoregon.com. Get involved and stay ready. Governor Kotek and Democrats will do their best to make sure your voice does not count. Together, we can win and restore much-needed balance in Oregon against unchecked left-wing ideology of Portland Democrats the rest of us don't share.
So, but back to what I was saying. So that spotlight with Trump that Trump has been putting on Portland has helped Kotek. As much as it's needed, as much as the ICE facility needs the protection, all that stuff is true. It's also helping Kotek because it's giving her a foil that isn't her own agencies and her own problems that she owns as governor, right? Her housing numbers or whatever else. So with that, she's gotten her numbers out of the basement. She is now a +8 favorable, right? And before there was a polling that Horvick had talked about where she wasn't even popular in Portland among Democrats, which is like kind of a problem if you're the Democrat governor of Oregon. So fighting Trump has helped her. She's a +8 now. She's in a better spot than after she won her last election. So the question anybody's running really has to answer is, can you get those numbers back down, or can you get your numbers way above hers, right? And I don't know that I could tell you what that path is right now. I think that that's the biggest challenge all of these candidates have. That's basically, I think, the biggest question. But Drazan running is going to put a spotlight on the fact that she just did this. Okay, Dudley 15 years ago, he can say whatever, right? He can say, oh, it's totally different now because XYZ, and he can explain it away, positive or negative. It doesn't really matter. The other problem is going to be, this is what happens. We have a red wave incoming, okay, which was what we expected in 22, didn't really arrive, but like 2010 and 2022 were the expected red wave years. RJ was all in. They spent about as much money as you could. RJ also got in some for Bueller because they thought Bueller was a candidate that could supersede some of the problems in Oregon. Okay, turns out he could not. RGA's not fallen for this race again. Not in 2020, not in 2026. They'll have way too much defense to play, way too much offense in more winnable states. They're not signing up for it again. I guarantee you. If anything, they got money sitting around in October and the polling is close. Okay, they might pull the trigger, but there's no early money coming. They're not coming in with any infrastructure. The only thing you can hope is NRCC actually wants to beat Bonham in the 5th, but I'm not even convinced that will be in play unless we have the right candidate, and that candidate is raising gobs of money. So that is the landscape. It's a very different landscape than the 2022 race, and whichever candidate comes out faces all of those challenges and has to explain or has to prove they can overcome them.
Well, and so think about the states, and so now Trump put a few more states into play that weren't in play even 4 years ago. So the states that are electing governors that barely went for Trump or barely didn't go for Trump, right? Nevada, Arizona, Minnesota, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, like these are battleground states that have governor races this year, that are going to have a lot of congressional races this year. So that weren't, maybe on the map. I'm probably even missing a couple there. I think Ohio's pretty safe. I think some of these other states are probably fine. Georgia's probably safe. But they're going to, if they don't look safe, they're going to dump some money there before they come here. So now you're falling down the list where maybe I think she was like 5th or 6th ranked, like of funding in 22. So I think she was somewhere in there. I don't know the exact numbers, but it was somewhere around there. Now you're lucky if you crack top 10 because she's probably going to fight for money against Colorado and New Mexico, for dollars, really.
And that's not the conversation you want to be in because those are not swing states. There's not much competitive going on there except
California,
for a couple of
they might even
congressional.
throw some money in, right? Because you got a lot of congressionals in California, depending on what happens with Measure 50 in California.
It's proposition. It's a proposition in California. They don't use measures.
All right.
Proposition 50. I'm just kidding.
Always have to be right.
I mean, yeah. So you pull up the 270 to win, which is my favorite map because you can click it and change the colors. You've got Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, all with governor's races, all swing states. Okay, those are immediately the most interesting races. They have to make sure they hold on to Iowa. They still want to flip Kansas because that is still, if I remember right, that's a Democrat governor there in Kansas. I think he'll also want to play in Pennsylvania. And so there's just so many, and maybe Minnesota, there's just so many more states. If you're the RGA, if you're Trump, if you're the RNC, that you would way rather play in because it lays groundwork for stuff that you've got to win
Yeah.
if you want to be competitive in 2028.
And
And Oregon is still, we're still not there. We
yeah.
see some positive voter trends. We talked about those before. I think Trey Rosser, who is, I think, or has been Drazan's consultant, posting numbers about the potential competitiveness, maybe trying to lay the groundwork for the argument of the case here. It's still a challenge, and no one would deny that. I don't think any of the candidates are thinking this is a cakewalk.
I feel like so I gotta assume there's a pressure for her to announce either it's a donor thing, it's maybe a Dudley thing, or I don't know. There's some sort of pressure to do it before that November 1st thing because I kind of feel like I would wait to see what New Jersey, Virginia looks like, or the outcomes of, like you got what 15 days until that election. It looks like Republicans are trending up in both states right now with those races. I mean, I think Virginia's a little bit more on the attorney general guy that basically tweeted that he was going to, wants to kill his opponents. But and that governor's basically not even denouncing it, which is just hilarious to me. But I think I don't know if that's the reason why that's trending up. I think that but I think I would wait, I mean, because I would say I wouldn't make my announcement based on somebody else's announcement. And unless she did head-to-head polling that showed she doesn't beat him, so
Right.
then that means you got to get out in front of him. So in a primary, so I think that would be the only thing that would make me force my decision to go early is that I need to get out in front of my opponent. I mean, I think her name ID has got to be highest among all of those people that we even talked about for governor. And even with Daniel Bethel declaring, I still, I mean, her numbers aren't even, I bet she's not even a 10% name ID awareness amongst Republicans. So Drazan's got to be 80%, I bet. They heard of her from the last election. So I think she could wait, but I'm not in her camp, so I don't know. Why they're going early. I guess maybe we'll find out someday. Maybe we'll ask her. She did say she'd come on the podcast when I was in DC with her. She did say she'd come on, so I'll put that out there. Maybe we'll ask her that why she went early, and maybe she won't answer. I don't know. We'll find out if she actually comes on the podcast, and then when Tina Kotek announces, we'll have her come on the podcast. We are putting it out there now. We're willing to do a pre-debate between Kotek and Drazan. Let's do it now. Let's do it early. Let's get it on. Give me a 1 year. Let's do it. Reagan, we could do a 1 year preview debate.
We could also get anyone who wants to primary Kotek and anyone else who wants to run in the Republican primary.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've had Daniel Bethel on. Some of the other ones that are running, I don't think I care. The ones that have declared and filed, I don't really care to interview them because I think they'd be boring.
Douglas T. Muck, no. I think his Oppo file is a little Graham Plattner-y. I've heard.
I can't, Muck's from my neck of the woods too. I think he went to high school with Vicky, which is kind of funny. He ran against McLean for the state senate.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, he ran in that primary, which was kind of funny. Nice guy, but just as a little delusional, I think.
Everybody's got to be a little delusional to get into politics.
He should pivot to Merkley. Maybe that's a better shot.
It's not the worst idea. Again, Swee would prefer somebody very normal. So if he has a rap sheet, maybe think about not politics.
He he drains septic systems. I mean, kind of a fun job.
I mean, you could turn that into dealing with a lot of crap in Salem. I mean, there's a campaign there, Brian. There is a campaign there. The other thing too is that this opens up Drazan's District 51 early and clears the way for the return of James Heeb.
Boy, oh boy.
I think there will be other people interested. I think There's probably still, I think he may apologize, by the way. I think he's likely to apologize and show some regret and try to get back in. I think there will be some PCPs who still like him that put him on the top list of three, I suspect. I could be wrong, but I suspect. But it'll be interesting to see who else is up there with him. That's going to be the interesting thing.
Yeah, James Heeb is not a bad guy. I think that he just, when some people punch above their belt or their weight class, as they say, I think if James was smart, he would have used his, you know, publicity or his platform when he lost to Christine to maybe like get on a city council, do something else, like kind of stay in the public realm of space of stuff and keep sharpening some skills and for an opportunity like this. But I think just to come back and just say, because he's never, was he elected? He's only ever been appointed, right? No, he won. I guess he did
He
win.
won his first. He was appointed, and I think he won his first one.
Appointed in 21, yeah. But I mean, that was before all the bad things kind of happened. But I'm hearing that Matt Bunch is going to run for that, and he's president of the Clackamas County Fair Board. He was going to run before Christine put her name in the hat. He was going to run. He was out there. Matt's a good guy. I know him. I would say I'm friends with him. Good guy. I think he would make a good state representative. I think when he called and said he wanted to run before, I remember telling him, I'm like, yeah, dude, it's great. We talked about hunting and fishing, and he was, kind of born in Jefferson County and that sort of stuff, and moved over to Clackamas a long time ago. So I think he'd be good. The House is. That district could.
Oh, hey, what do you know? He filed yesterday.
I didn't even know that. That's so funny. Matt Bunch did. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay. But I think that seat, which is the highest or the lowest SNAP benefits for Republicans, I saw that on that map, 51. I think that seat needs some stability. And I think Matt could bring some stability to that seat. I don't think we need this kind of like in and out, with Christine over the course of time. I think I think she wants to run for. She's been wanting to run for governor. She loves to be the anti-Kotek. I think that'd be good for that seat to have a good, solid state representative that's just focused on that and not being governor. Nothing against Christine running for governor. I think it's it's fine. We need somebody she's taken the baton of being everything against Kotek. She's taken that baton to the nth degree over the course of the years, and there is a true not likeness there between those two. That is.
Here's the other thing, Brian, that I forgot about. OPB, I think it was. One of the articles mentioned that senators can raise money during the session. Now, they won't get any checks from lobby. Lobby is prohibited by Capital Club rules from giving during session. So a lot of the big corporations won't. But like small corporations that don't have lobbyists, corporations that don't want to give through their lobbyists, individuals, she can still raise money from them. So it could be that she also is running, she'll just test the waters because she didn't get in this early last time. She waited. So she gets in early now, sees if she can raise the money. If she can't, she can always pull the ripcord and file on the last day for Senate and try to keep her seat. And then the question is, what does Helfrich do? Because in the meantime, he'll stay filed and run for Senate while she's doing her test run for governor. So that sets up a thing where she's in a situation she can pull the ripcord at the end if she doesn't feel like it's developing the way she wants it to. Potentially.
There's a lot of games you can play with your Orstar and your PAC and stuff, right? So she doesn't actually have to technically file for governor.
No, true.
You would have to file a week before the deadline, though.
Oh, that's right.
Rules for her Senate seat.
That's right.
But yes, you're right. The Senate can raise money during their session, where House rules are against the House members from raising money,
which I still believe to be unconstitutional, but it is what it is.
I think people do really do it. I think there's just more reporting requirements from the state. I don't think you would get in trouble if you were a House member and you raised money. Secretary of State just has the 48-hour reporting requirements. what doesn't allow them to do it is just their own internal rules,
House rules, yeah.
which isn't
Which you can't get in trouble for
law.
breaking them. I don't know what the penalty would be. Would they attempt to expel a member
Yeah.
that take? Because basically, I think if you're a House member, let's just say you're brand new and you just decide you want to challenge us, you take a contribution the day session starts or something like that. Unless they throw you out, basically that means you can do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe they kill you off from all the committees, and then that convinces people not to. But I think ultimately it should
I
be
think,
allowed.
yeah, be curious, and the pivot into this gas tax stuff, because that's going to muddy those waters as well. Uh,
Right.
Governor Kotek still has not signed the gas tax, still has not allowed us to start gathering signatures, the people that want to refer it to the voters for an up down vote. So the biggest question I had with all that is like with the Trump stuff and everything else, and now Christine Drazan running for governor and all those sort of things. I'm wondering if all of this noise is sucking some of the oxygen out of the room for the enthusiasm on the gas tax. And I'm a little concerned about that maybe their plan is working. So to basically take us into basically near middle of November and then sign it. And it gives us an effective 35, 40 days to get signatures before Christmas. And that is scaring me on that part. The team seems to be doing a pretty good job. We're gonna have Senator Bruce Starr on here too. We've been I've been chatting with him. I chatted with him this week, and we just said we want to wait till we're a little bit closer to her signing so we can kind of get the details of what the straight what we need, what people need to do, and all the things. But I that could really, if the gas tax thing goes through and we're successful and it gets on there and it's Tina Kotek's gas tax, that and somehow that gets on the they get it on the ballot and somehow gets punted to even a primary or a general, that could make a difference, in the way it could be a game changer for people like Christine running for governor. I think it's a something that cuts through the clutter, right? I mean, people hate it. I mean, some of the polling on gas taxes are 85-15 basically. And what Measure 30 they got referred, that was like a 90-10, whopping. Well, that was only saving $1 billion. This is 4.3 billion or whatever. So that could be a real game changing, momentum changing scenario. But I'm just really concerned about our time frame. So go to notaxor.com and sign up. They got a lot of people that signed up, said they'd sign. I think there are 20, 30,000 people or so that are ready and fired up. But I just don't want to lose that enthusiasm. So it's kind of why I put that plug in there. To do that. But I think it's an issue that could play into the governor's race. And I think there's a few of those issues that are floating. There's a lot of measures. Are we measures? Are we propositions now? I don't know. I'm just kidding.
There are
A lot of measures out there.
petitions. I guess there was one that was filed that is going to repeal the homelessness, the ban or the camping.
Yeah.
Kotek had a bill that allowed for camping, basically, and there's a bill to repeal that, or initiative petition to repeal
Not
that. The
camping.
other,
It's not camping. It's open air drug dens.
right, and it is. I mean, it's legalized homelessness. Basically, they give everybody its right to rest. Essentially, you got a right to be wherever you want to be in public land, which is, of course, not how that works, and never how it was supposed to work. Just because it's public land does not mean you get access to it at all times for any reason. And then there's one, and now I can't even find the link to it anymore, that deals with changing Oregon to open primaries with a top two general election, which I think is interesting. And the thing that makes it different here, it's still going to be a grassroots effort to some extent, I would guess. But and we should have him on to talk about it. Former Governor Ted Kulongaugme basically he told people, he was like, look, don't sign this if you think things are going well, but I don't think things are going well anymore. I think the state of Oregon is not good. And he's talking about different times when both Republicans and Democrats have been in control, and he seems to be not super thrilled with how things are going at the moment. So he's co-leading that effort along with Sherry Helt and Andrew Kaza, I think is his name, who's independent party. So they theoretically have all three parties represented. It'll be interesting to see, like, if other big names jump in. Well, when Dallas Hurd was in charge of the Republicans, he tried to do what's already allowed by law, which is allow the Republicans to open their primary so non-affiliated could choose to vote in the Republican primary. That got narrowly defeated at the ORP meeting that he attempted to do that at. I don't know where the new chair stands on that or this new ballot initiative, but they want to end the taxpayer-funded primaries, so the primary is open and available, and all the candidates are in the same primary, and everybody gets to vote in that same primary. So you obviously still benefit by bringing a party apparatus with you, but now everybody else could have a say in that primary too. So it'll be interesting to see. And then they're going with top two instead of 3 or 4 or 5. I'm assuming to prevent spoilers. I don't know. But there'll be situations where, like, which is be interesting, like, Valderrama's seat in Portland, she'll get a Democrat challenger, not a Republican, to make it into the final. Like, the Republicans are such a small minority in that district. There won't be, she'll more than likely, Democrats in deep blue seats will have Democrat challengers in their general elections in the top 2, unless they can convince no one else to file, which I find to be unlikely because the filing threshold's still really low, $50 and fill out a form. So that'll be interesting too to see what happens. Yeah.
Well, first off, let me just say this, because Kulongaugme was governor for 8 years and did nothing on this topic. He had the bully pulpit. He was the governor, control of his party, the top dog in the state, and did nothing to make the state worse. All these guys get out of office and they all think, oh, now that I've left, they're too partisan. Now that I've left, they suck. Now that I've left, things are broken. Now that I've left, things aren't the way they should be. Every one of these guys that are formers, I hate formers doing shit like this, to be honest with you, because I think you had the opportunity. You could have taken the opportunity to do something and change the nature of where we're at today. And I kind of get a little pissy and just want to, drop the middle finger in front of them and just be like, you know what? You had your chance to be in the limelight and you could have done something and you did nothing. And so it's kind of like, meh, I don't really care that it's him. That Kaza guy is nothing but a left-wing hack Democrat. So screw the independent party as far as I'm concerned.
Guaranteed.
I don't, they're nothing but just shill Democrats. Sherry Held always wants there to be open stuff because Sherry Helt is, barely right of center, right? Just philosophically speaking and politically speaking, which is fine. I mean, I get where she's coming from with it because it makes things a little bit easier for her to be when she's a pro-choice, pro-vaccine Republican. You got to have open primaries. Otherwise, there's no way you're winning one. So I think that's really why she's going after that and sees it that way, which is okay to have that opinion. I don't have a problem with that opinion, but I'm actually not for open primaries. I think that if you want to vote in my primary, become a Republican. If I want to vote in the Democrat primary, then I guess I'll become a Democrat in that district. And if you're a non-affiliated voter or an independent, then you know what? You made that choice. Like, you don't get to just vote in anywhere you want because, oh, look at me, I'm great because I'm non-affiliated, I can vote wherever I want. Well, too bad. When you register as a party in the Republican Party, you say that I believe in some basic principles of the Republicans, and same with the Democrats. There's some basic principles that they believe in, and you're choosing to do that. And I think when you're a non-affiliate independent party, what they need to do is make more independents, and then they can become their own major party. But they don't want to do that. They just want all of the benefits of the major parties, but yet be their own minor party. And I say no. I say all you guys are good for in the independent party is helping Democrats win tough races and being spoilers in other races. That's all you're good for because you don't do anything. You don't stand for shit. I don't even know what you stand for. You stand for not Democrat and not Republican. And I don't think that's right. The two-party systems work just fine. So I don't even know where you're at on this one, Reagan, but I'm not clearly I'm not on that. I'm not on the open primary
I
side.
would say I'm sort of in the middle because I do agree with you, Brian. I think if you want to meddle in the Republican primary, just become a Republican. But like that's too far for some people. And same on Democrat. Like I would never register Democrat. Not even to get involved in a primary. I would like the opportunity, I think, to if there was no other primaries I cared about in my area, this is Lynn County, so all the primaries are Republican primaries. But like if there was a key Democrat race and
Albany.
if I could stay registered R and pull a Dem ballot, I wouldn't hate that, but I think that's also like the point of the parties is like we're going to choose our candidates. If people have a problem with running them in a way that is on taxpayer funds, here's the problem. The reason we do that is because if the ORP runs the meeting or the DPO runs the meeting, and runs the primary statewide, runs the primary in these districts, like it's going to be scary. There's going to be so many allegations of fraud, of election rigging, and the state doesn't have their records or anything. And so they'll just be like, I don't know, see you guys in court, I guess. It's going to be really ugly. And it's going to go back to the way it was when we chose people in behind back doors, backroom meetings, and in cigar-filled rooms and coronations and all that stuff. The whole reason we have taxpayer-funded party primaries was for transparency. So I get it. On the other hand, I think your point is a good one, Brian. And so I'd say I'm still undecided on this one because yes,
I got you on my side. You're coming.
you might pull me across. You might pull me across. But I think there is a pretty good point that a lot of these primaries tend to be like one issue primaries, and in order to win your primary, it's a lot harder to be courageous. It's a lot easier to go in lockstep with the groups on both sides. And so that means that those interest groups do have a lot of control over what happens in the process. So I think that's interesting. And one thing I wanted to highlight too, just to cover this really quick. So the governor did an executive order yesterday on the environment and preserving public lands. And I don't know what it means yet. I haven't analyzed the whole thing. I haven't gone through and tried to break it down. There's something about preserving 10% of lands over 10 years. Again, I hope that's an achievable goal that they've set for themselves. But
He's pretty good at doing lofty goals.
OPB, and then I have to go because my next meeting is ready to go. I butt myself right up. Mary Kyle McCurdy gave a good quote to OPB about Governor Kotek. And to have that hit on whatever it was, Wednesday or Tuesday, and then have the executive order on the environment show up on Thursday reminds me how gross it is when Democrats have to campaign. Because, like, it's pretty hard. I mean, you can send me the receipts if you want to, but, like, those things seem connected to me, which is disappointing because what we don't need is more environmental regulations. We got enough.
Here's my and we can kind of end it here a little bit on this one because I am not for open primaries, but what I am for, if you want to lower the thresholds for other parties to get into the taxpayer funded primaries, and the independent party wants to actually let their members vote on somebody running for their office, that would be great because right now they don't have a process that is democratic. It is basically their party bosses choosing who they want to be to get the independent nod, or the working families, or the whatever, the no names. I mean, you libertarians, all of that. If we want to lower the threshold and allow them to have access to the county clerks and stuff to run their elections for them, all for that. Let's go that route. Because I would rather see more people on the general ballot that has an independent tag than basically the Democrat that says, "Oh, look at me, I got the working families, the independent, and the Democrat Party." I'm like, "Gee, I wonder how you got that one." So I think I would rather see that versus opening the primaries. So my 2 cents on it. We can talk more about it as it comes, but good discussion. We'll see. Lots to come in the governor's race. It's going to be a great Christmas season, Reagan. I can just smell it.
I'm so excited. See you later, Brian.
Bye.